The biggest unsolved heist in American history. Two men, police uniforms, 81 minutes, $500 million worth of art, and then nothing. No arrests, no convictions, no recovered paintings. 35 years later, the FBI still has an active case. The museum still has a $10 million reward on the table, and the empty frames where the paintings used to hang are still on the walls, left there on purpose, because the museum refuses to pretend the art was never there. This is the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist, the largest property crime in American history, and one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the last 100 years. Boston, March 17, 1990, St. Patrick's Day. The city is celebrating late into the night, bars packed, streets loud, nobody paying attention to much of anything except the party. At 1:24 in the morning, two men pull up to the employee entrance of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. They are dressed in full Boston police uniforms. They ring the night bell. Rick Abbott, the security guard on duty, looks at the intercom. Two cops, St. Patrick's Day night. He assumes there's been some kind of disturbance nearby. Against museum policy, which explicitly states that no one is to be let in after hours without authorization, he buzzes them in. That single decision, made in a few seconds at 1:24 in the morning, is the moment that changes everything. Once inside, the two men don't ask about any disturbance. They tell Abbott and the other guard on duty, Randy Heston, that there are warrants out for their arrest. They handcuff both guards, walk them to the basement, and duct tape them to a pipe and a workbench. Not violently, efficiently, calmly, like they had done it before or had spent a long time thinking about exactly how to do it. Then they go to work. For the next 81 minutes, two men walk through one of the most prestigious private art museums in America and take whatever they want. They cut canvases directly from their gilded frames. Rembrandt's The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, considered one of the greatest seascapes ever painted. A Lady and Gentleman in Black, also Rembrandt. The Concert by Johannes Vermeer, one of only 36 Vermeer paintings known to exist in the entire world. 5 sketches by Edgar Degas, a painting by Edouard Manet, a Napoleonic eagle finial, a Chinese bronze beaker. 13 works in total, valued at the time at over $300 million. Today, the estimate is $500 million. For comparison, that makes this single night's work the largest property crime in the history of the United States. At 2:45 in the morning, they walk out the same door they came in. They get in a car, they drive away. The guards are found still duct taped to the basement pipes when the morning staff arrives for work. The empty frames are still hanging on the walls. Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything. And the two men, whoever they were gone. What followed was one of the longest and most frustrating art crime investigations in FBI history. And frustrating is almost too soft a word for it. From the beginning, the FBI had almost nothing to work with. The thieves had disabled the museum's security system before leaving, or more accurately, they had taken the security recording tapes with them. Whatever footage existed of that night was gone. The disguises were good enough that the guards couldn't give reliable descriptions. No fingerprints that led anywhere. No witnesses on the street at 2 a.m. on St. Patrick's Day who had noticed two men loading paintings into a car. The guard, Rick Abbott, immediately became a person of interest. He had let them in against explicit policy. He had an outstanding arrest warrant for a minor offense, the kind of thing that might make someone nervous enough to not want police looking too closely at him. Some investigators believed the thieves knew about the warrant and used it as leverage, threatening to expose him if he didn't cooperate. Abbott denied any involvement, took and passed a polygraph test, and was never charged. But the questions around him never fully went away. The FBI's primary theory for decades pointed toward the Boston mob, specifically figures connected to the Patriarca crime family and a drug trafficker named Carmelo Merlino, who investigators believed may have organized the heist on behalf of someone with the resources to store and potentially sell $500 million worth of stolen art. One mob figure, Robert Donati, was investigated heavily. A confederate of Donati's later told investigators that Donati had visited him in prison 3 months before the heist and promised he was going to do something big. 3 months later, the Gardner heist happened. Donati was murdered in 1991, 1 year after the theft, before investigators could get to him. Whether his death was connected to the heist has never been established. The problem with stolen art of this value is that it is almost impossible to sell. Dealers know what was taken. Auction houses know. Law enforcement in every country with a serious art market has the list. So where do paintings worth $500 million go? The FBI's working theory is that they have been used as collateral, passed between criminal organizations as a form of currency in drug deals and other transactions, hidden in attics and warehouses, moving through the underworld without ever appearing on the legitimate market. Former FBI agent Jeff Kelly, who worked the case for over 2 decades, described the stolen paintings as perfect fugitives. Unlike human criminals, they don't need documents. They don't need to show up anywhere. They can hide in a room for 50 years and wait. 35 years later, the reward stands at $10 million. The FBI still has an active file, and the museum still has the empty frames on the walls with small plaques beneath them describing what used to hang there, because Isabella Gardner's will specified that nothing in the museum could ever be rearranged or replaced. The empty spaces are permanent. In 2013, the FBI announced they had identified the two thieves, both connected to the New England criminal underworld. Both were dead. No charges were ever filed. The identification was never tested in court. The case remains officially unsolved. What makes this case genuinely strange, even beyond the missing art, is what the thieves chose to take, and what they left behind. They grabbed a Napoleonic bronze eagle worth almost nothing compared to other works in the same room, while leaving far more valuable paintings hanging on the walls right next to them. Either they ran out of time, or they had a very specific list. Or whoever ordered the heist wanted particular pieces for reasons that had nothing to do with money. Nobody has ever confirmed which one. Somewhere in the world right now, there is a Vermeer, one of only 36 in existence, hidden in a room nobody is supposed to know about. The most valuable missing object on Earth, waiting. And whoever knows where it is has stayed quiet for 35 years. Which at this point might be the most impressive part of the whole story. If this story had you locked in from start to finish, give it a like and subscribe to Wait, What? Because we've got so much more coming every week. Check out the video on screen right now. And as always, wait, what?